Welcome to Let's Play Gran Turismo 2, Episode 11. So, you may remember in the previous episode I notably purchased a Daihatsu Quarry for the lightweight K-Cup, and essentially overall, because I figured I was wanting to get something cheap, I figured of course that would essentially be my best option. Considering obviously I was wanting to be traditional. But of course, I was not thinking it would officially succeed first time because most of the upgrades for the car itself were either expensive or essentially overall they just didn't make any difference in terms of horsepower. Except for the turbocharger, of course, because obviously with my Quarry being a turbo, those were essentially the only two things I could officially purchase. Considering at the same time I also purchased a racing exhaust, and quite surprisingly my experiment with my Daihatsu Quarry, it was proven to be a success. And now that we are officially complete with that event, we are now going to move over to the GT League events. And of course, I had a look at what it was that I was going to use for the fucking Japanese nationals, or Japan nationals I should say, and I think in the end of course, because I had a look on the GT wiki what my best choices were, I eventually decided in the end I was going to use my Celica GTR for the first race, and then for the other two races I will use my Spoon S2000. As I'm now switching over to my GTR. But of course I'm only going to be doing this for the first race. And then essentially for the second and third races respectively I will probably use my S2K. But anyways. So this is precisely what we are going to be doing for pretty much the next 6 segments. National Championships. So we've got the Japanese Nationals, the US Nationals, the French Nationals, British Nationals, Italian Nationals, and the German Nationals. So I think for the first event I'm officially going to use my Toyota Celica. And also, by the way, I think Midfield Raceway in this game is located in Japan, because obviously we're basically racing at Midfield Raceway for pretty much all of the races in this championship. So let's head to race 1. Oh yeah, of course, I just remembered I need to remove something before I do that. So, gonna head over to machine test, since essentially overall this is officially the first time I'm actually showing it in this game. And I'm essentially going to remove a part, so that obviously my car becomes illegible for the first race, and that's officially what I have done. So, going to head back over to the race events, the GT League, and as far as I know, I'm about 13 horsepower mathematically under the maximum amount of horsepower I can have in this car, so yeah, I should be eligible for the first race. Let's go to Midfield Raceway for race number 1, which is also a B-class race. I mean, I could have purchased a new car if I wanted to, but obviously because I know money itself is essentially a prolific whore in this game, I eventually decided I was just going to stick with what I currently have, and I was basically just going to use 3 cars for the next few events, because, you know, me lazy. So, let's see how we go for race 1. Considering, I would imagine it's probably not going to be too much of a challenge, but we shall wait and see. Let's head to race 1 and see what we are up against. Okay, so we've got a Yaris in this field. We also have a Mazda AutoZone in this event. Along, of course, with, I think, what is a Honda logo, a Mitsubishi Minica, and I'm fairly certain that is a Suzuki AutoWorks in this field. And I, of course, am already pulling away. Because even though I could have purchased a new car if I wanted to, I eventually decided in the end it was probably better if I just saved my money and essentially used the materials I currently have. Based on how much I'll probably be spending over the next 2 events anyway, so I think the 3 main cars I'm going to be using for the next 6 events are probably this, my Spoon S2K, and probably also my Dodge concept car, aka the Dodge Copperhead, which will essentially be the only 3 cars that I am officially using for pretty much the next 6 events, probably. And I think I've probably made this a little bit too easy by leaving my racing exhaust on. Because, well, I probably didn't need to do that, but anyway. I just did because I had a feeling there might be someone challenging me, but at the moment, even though these AI are keeping up with me relatively good, obviously none of them are actually challenging me in this race at the moment. But again, I could be wrong, because obviously these AI have certainly proven me wrong before by essentially going for last lap dive bombs and subsequently succeeding. But anyways, heading up to the start-finish straight, and we have officially completed race 1. It is once again victory for the Celica. And mostly overall, it was basically K cars in this event. So we basically had a Suzuki AutoWorks in this field, a Mazda AZ1, a Daihatsu Quarry was in this field, along with a Suzuki Vivio and a Honda logo. I won that event by just under 2 seconds, so I think I probably made this event a little bit too easy, but then again, I will probably have to remember to remove the racing exhaust for the next event I do in the Celica. So anyways, 4 grand for winning. And unfortunately no new cars yet, but I would imagine there probably will be a new car when we get to it. But anyways, so that was race 1, and now of course we can officially move on to the next two races. And well, because I want to be cheap, I think for those next two races I will just use my S2K for the A-class races, as I now head back over to the race events to officially get on with the GT League. And let's head to race 2. Considering I'm probably anticipating I may win this race probably quite easily. And well, as for race 3, I'm actually uncertain of that, but anyways. Let's head to race 2 of Midfield Raceway, considering we are notably competing against more powerful cars than we were in the first race. Okay, so we've got a Civic, we've got another S2K in this field. We also have a Nissan Silvia in this field, along with a Honda Civic EK. I think that's a Tommy Kyra right there, and indeed it is. And I think, as far as I can tell, that's probably either a Mitsubishi GTO or a Mitsubishi 3000 GT. As I am already up into the lead. And already the Silvia S15, I think that is already starting to run wide. Considering I would assume he was preparing to make a dive for the lead, but his attempt was unsuccessful. Meanwhile, I currently hold the lead. And if it's possible, I would probably say this one will probably end up being a relatively easy W. And it looks like the Tommy Kyra is currently in second, with the Silvia right behind him, and then I think I can see the S2K with what I think is the GTO, and probably the other S2K is at the rear. At the present time. But again, because these AI are constantly jostling for position, pretty much all the time, obviously, I would anticipate one of them sooner or later will be prepared to make the dive. And that is a wall. Oh, there goes the Tommy Kyra. And he's right alongside me. He's definitely pushing me. And just as I anticipated, I figured sooner or later one of these AI was going to make a last lap lunge, but unfortunately that failed for them, but for me it's another relatively easy W. So 2 out of 2 for me, and it was officially a Honda S2000 1-2 in that race. So the Tommy Kyra eventually dropped back to third as a result of that failed dive bomb. Then it was the Silvia in fourth, and just as I predicted, it was 3000 GT that was in this race that eventually finished in fifth, and the Honda Civic Type R was eventually last. So So half of the field was notably Hondas, and 2 of those were notably S2Ks. But of course for me, I have the superior S2K. Anyways, there we go. 5 grand for winning. And now of course we can officially move on. But before I do that, I should probably save a replay. And that means obviously getting rid of this one. This is now segment number 11. So anyways, let's move on to race 3. Let's move on to race 3 and see if we can succeed on our first attempt. Hopefully we can, but obviously I'm not going to anticipate any miracles. But anyways, 2 down, 1 to go. Let's head to our final race in the Japan Nationals at Midfield Raceway, where we are once again facing against even more powerful cars. But if I'm lucky, I may be able to win this on my first attempt, considering I have no tuning on this car whatsoever, but let's just wait and see what happens. Hopefully we can succeed, but again I'm not anticipating any miracles. But anyways, this is attempt number 1 of race 3. So we've got a Subaru Legacy in this field. We also have a Lancer Evo 5 in this field, as I can see there. And don't know about the rest, probably because I'm not able to see them yet. But I am catching up at least. And I think that's a Toyota Supra there, from what I can see. Now, that's a Skyline GTR R34. And he just forced me into the wall. Well, I suppose it's understandable, considering rubber banding in this game is usually super strong. And indeed it is a Toyota Supra. And at the front we have an NSX. So yeah, we have another one of the touring car boys in this field, even though that's essentially what the Supra is. And we also have a rally boy in this field, which is obviously the Evo 5. But anyways, completing lap 1, these AI are definitely closing in on me. And I think I was on the brakes there for a little bit too long, but fortunately I'm still holding my position against the NSX. Supra is currently third. It looks like the Lancer is moving up again, or unless that's the Skyline. But I am managing to hold on to my position as we now go into the final sequence of corners and almost spinning on the curb there. And that could have easily been treacherous. And that of course could have easily been treacherous for my chances of officially winning this race, if that is what was going to happen, but fortunately for me at least, it did not. But anyways, it looks like it is going to be a clean sweep in the Japanese Nationals, and indeed it is. this field we had a Toyota Supra RZ, and I was wrong again. It was actually a Lancet Evo 6 that we had in this field. We also had a Skyline GTR V-Spec R34. The NSX had eventually finished in 5th, and just as I thought was the car that was in front of me, that was the Subaru Legacy. But anyways, there we go. Three out of 3 victories for me, and I'm now up to 40 grand. And already saved a replay, so don't need to do that again. And well, unfortunately no prize cars at the moment, but I would probably anticipate we will be winning those we will be winning prize cars eventually. But anyways, let's head back to our home. So unfortunately, as you can see here, we have no new prize cars, but at the very least we have managed to complete our first GT League event, and as a result of that, we are now officially 6.84% complete. And so that was the Japan Nationals Championship. Next up is the US Nationals Championship. Stay tuned for more GT2.